Fueron liberados. Ah, sí, le dije, pónmelo, how are you?
Hugo Rafael Chavez Frías, Venezuelan president and political foe of the United States, is dead after losing a battle to cancer. The socialist leader underwent lengthy treatment in Cuba for an undisclosed form of cancer, having at least 3 operations, including one to remove a tumor he described as the size of a baseball from his abdomen. His frequent absences from public view led to widespread rumors about his health and stood in marked contrast to his usual style of appearing on television for hours at a time, speaking, reading, and occasionally singing. The son of 2 school teachers, Chávez was born in 1954 in rural Venezuela and grew up with hopes of becoming a professional baseball player. Instead, he entered the military, rising to the rank of colonel and engineering a failed coup attempt in 1992. Chávez was jailed but soon released and ran successfully for president in 1998.
Lo juro.
Backed largely by Venezuela's poor, he promised to spread the wealth from the nation's oil reserves. His role models were Fidel Castro and, from history, Simón Bolívar, whom he idolized in a cult of personality, even renaming the country as the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Chávez introduced a new constitution and attempted to consolidate power, but his radical moves led to street protests and a coup attempt, which briefly removed him from office. 2 days later, he was returned to power with a bitter hatred for the U.S. government, whom he blamed for the coup attempt.
Huele a azufre todavía.
He referred to the U.S. as the evil empire and famously branded U.S. President George W. Bush as the devil during an address at the United Nations, and he warned his countrymen frequently of an impending U.S. invasion of Venezuela. His erratic behavior was increasingly criticized as clown-like, but Chávez would win re-election twice, relying on high oil prices to fund wide-ranging ambitions at home and, he hoped, as a global counterweight to U.S. influence. In a nation of 30 million, it was one man, Hugo Chavez, who controlled the presidency, the parliament, the judiciary, and the media, shutting down any television or radio stations which were critical of his rule, and forging ahead with increased government control over the private sector. Nationalize it became a catchphrase Chávez would say in front of the cameras, pointing to a business or a building that would suddenly, by virtue of his decree, be under state control. Chávez continued to enjoy strong support from Venezuela's poor despite increasing street violence and one of the highest inflation rates in the world. When in good health, he was a constant presence on state-controlled television, giving hours-long speeches which by law had to be carried on every channel. His absence creates a vacuum of power, which both supporters and opponents will no doubt try to claim. The big question is, with divisions between the two sides so bitter, whether any transition can be achieved peacefully. Hugo Chavez, Venezuela's 56th president, dead from cancer.
La recta final.
Steve Harrigan, Fox News.